it's Amanda here from Lolli Lulu Crafts, and today we are going to be making an Easter card. However, I would say that this card definitely could be used for any occasion. I just happen to have put an Easter type sentiment on it, but it really is one that you could definitely use for Mother's Day, birthday cards, anything like that. Change the colours, it could even be a sympathy card. So I hope you enjoy, and let's get crafting. So first of all, I'm taking this Stamping Up Trust God stamp, and you can see there that it's quite a large sentiment. Well, not large sentiment, but there's more to it than I'm using. And I'm literally just taking the word God, and I'm just inking that up, and I'm using my Hero Arts Green Hills ink for that, and I'm just stamping it onto some Stamping Up Whisper White cardstock, and I think it just came out really nice. I just wanted that word. Now later on I actually slightly changed that, but that's my sentiment for the front. This is the sentiment for the inside, and this is my Simon Says Stamp Rejoice set, and I'm taking two of the stamps from that. You can kind of mix and match, and this one says Have a Blessed Easter, and that's going to be for the inside of my card. So there you can see I've just cut it down because I'm going to be doing something a little bit more on the inside, and I wanted it a little smaller. So the next thing I'm doing is just finishing my sentiment on the front, and for that I want to use this little tag from this Spellbinders Back to Basics tags die set, and I just thought this was a really cute little tag, and it's just part of what's in my mind for this design, and I think it worked really well for that. But this is the main inspiration for this whole card, and this is the Spellbinders Renaissance Jubilee border, and it's just such a gorgeous die, really pretty. And as you can see, just popped it through, and then I'm just using my little Spellbinders brush tool thing here, I don't quite know its proper name, and just running that over and then turning that over again and doing it on the other side, and then bingo, all the little pieces have popped out as easy as pie. So really nice, and a really pretty border there, and I guess you could use that in so many different ways. So now I'm getting to my coloured card, and this is the Hobbycraft Watercolour Dreams paper pack. This is the 6x6, but it also comes, I think, as 8x8 and also 12x12 for definite, and as you can see it's just such a pretty set, and I just thought for the Easter sort of spring colours, the green and the yellow was just perfect. Then I took some of the Linda Chapman's craft cardstock, and I made myself, using my easy peasy card method, a 6x6 card. Now the piece of paper from the Hobbycraft pack is also 6x6, so I'm cutting that down to 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, so that will then sit on the front within sort of I didn't want to cover basically the whole of my front. I wanted to create a mat and layer, and then I'm going to cut the same but 1/8 of an inch bigger, so 5 7/8 by 5 7/8 in the Whisper White cardstock, just again to create a nice little mat. I then cut the same again in the white and the coloured cardstock, but I start the white at 5 3/4, and then I go down to 5 5/8, I think it would be for the coloured piece, but basically 1/8 of an inch down, and then I stick them together, pop my sentiment on, and then pop that onto the inside of my card, and I think that makes a really just nice complementary inside to the card. So then I just repeat the process on the outside, in that I'm going to stick the coloured piece onto the white mat. However, I am not as yet going to stick that piece onto the front of my card, because there's a few other bits that we need to do first before we do that. So the next thing I need to do is work on my border here. So I've got some beautiful grosgrain ribbon. This is actually American Crafts ribbon, I believe, and it's just a beautiful matching green. I just then am threading that through this border right through to the ends, but leaving the ends on the underneath side. And then I've decided that it would actually be better, because the ribbon was sliding up and down, is to just add a little adhesive, just some tape, on the center parts of the border here and just stick my ribbon down. That way it stopped it sliding up and down, which I didn't like because it was kind of uneven. And then I'm just snipping the excess off and then just adding some adhesive across the whole back of that ribbon so that it will stick my border in place, and then also the little ends of the ribbon also have adhesive on, so then once that's stuck down on the front, I will just tuck those ends behind, sticking them to the back of my piece of card here, which was why I didn't want to obviously stick that down beforehand. Then those little pieces that are sticking out, I wasn't sure at the time whether I wanted to keep those or not before I stuck the border down, but once I saw it I decided that wasn't quite what I wanted to do, so I just snipped those little ends off, and I think that looked a lot better just for this look that I was going for today. And then I could stick my front down onto my card. So then the next thing I need to do is put on my different bits of flowers and little pearl pieces, etc. Now normally at this point we always speed the video up, but I thought, well, I'll try and do it at normal speed so you get to see it in a better way. So you can see here that I've started off by putting the skeleton leaf down, and then some little pearl pieces, and obviously then some nice little berries. And then I decided that I really liked this little stick pin I had. It had a gorgeous little green just single bead at the top, and I just felt that worked really well. And then I was just fiddling around, sort of eyeballing how the flower and the tag were going to work to make sure that the pieces I'd already stuck down were working okay. And then I had this other little pearl element, and I really wanted to add that in because it disguised the stalks, the dark stalks of the berries and the leaves, and I didn't particularly like how they showed. I didn't mind them showing kind of behind the pearls, but I just didn't like them on their own completely. And so then I was working out where I wanted to add my leaves, and then I had another little berry. This was actually one that just snapped off, and I thought, well, I may as well make use of him, so I just thought I'd put that there. So then I just am using my hot glue for this. I always find for the flowers, etc., I find the hot glue works better. And by the way, that bow I'd made on my bow maker, and I deliberately did it with really long tails like that, and really kind of quite a loose look to it, although actually it probably wasn't. And that also was stuck down using the hot glue, and I just felt that made a really nice kind of sweep across the card. And then as you saw, I just stuck down those other elements that we were just talking about, the leaves, etc., using the hot glue, and then I added that big white flower. I was trying to do my sentiment tag there, and it didn't quite sit in enough into the flower. It was making it poke out too much, so I decided just to chop the end off. After all, nobody's going to see that part of the tag, so it didn't really matter. So I found that worked a lot better. It allowed me to get that underneath the flower a lot more. I added a piece of foam tape to the back of the sentiment tag here because I needed it to stand up off the card a little more because of the other elements. If I let it sit sort of flat onto the card, it just didn't work. But I did still use hot glue to stick it down, but on top of the foam. And then you saw I added a little gold charm for the cross and a little bit of baker's twine and a bow at the top there. The final thing here I added was a bit more to the sentiment. This is not really the ideal way of doing it, but I felt it needed, I didn't like just the God. Originally the plan was to add the bless in some stickers, in some alphabet stickers, but it just didn't work, so I then added it in using the stamp here. But as I say, that wasn't ideal stamping it sort of when it was in situ, but luckily, fingers crossed, it came and worked. And that is it. The card is finished, but as you could see, you could easily add a different sentiment there, maybe leave the cross off or add a different charm to the corner there, and you would have a completely different card, and it wouldn't have to be Easter at all. And that's kind of what I was going for this time. I wanted to go for something that was almost more spring-like in its colours, but again, different colours would give a different look. So that is it. I hope you have enjoyed making this card with me. Don't forget, as always, do go on across to my blog post to see all the photos, all the links to the products used, etc. It's definitely always worth going across to the blog post because you will see loads of photos. So that is it. I hope you've enjoyed, and I will see you again next time. Bye for now. Bye.